All right, so this is dry enough now that I can go ahead and start putting paint on here. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of color on where the bricks are, where the stonework is here on the chimney, some of the stuff on the doorway for the iron hinges. Just some touch of color in some spots here, just so you can kind of see it. It should just make it pop. What's nice about all this is if we don't like it, we just take that little sanding bit that I had earlier that I showed you, and we can just sand the color right off and go back to the natural. Some people are done here. Some may just say, hey, this is the end of it, and this is how I like it. Others, you may want to just continue on and do what I'm about to do here. So I'll show you what it looks like. You can decide. So here we go. Here are the colors I'll be using. I just have a gray, a little bit of brown just in case I need it for touching up if I get something on the wood where I don't want it to be. Always need your black and your whites to either lighten or darken your color. And then I've got, this is called deep burgundy. This will be my brick color. To give it a little bit more of a brick color, what you'll see me do is I'm going to put this down on my little paint palette here, which is just a chunk of wood, and I'm going to add some brown to it. That's going to give it more of a brick look. So you'll get to see me do that here. So let's go ahead. One thing I forgot to do. So what I like to do first is take my gray and get it down in between here so that it looks like mortar in between my bricks. Now, as you'll see, I'm being kind of sloppy here because I'm just going to wipe that off, and then we're going to have some red going over top of it. The brick color will go over top. So you won't be seeing that on the brick. All right, what I'll do, I'll take this and put a little bit of water on it and wipe it off. So now what I'll do is I'll take the brick color, and I'm going to go ahead and just gently wipe across the top, more of a dry brush sort of a thing. Now I forgot to kind of wipe that one off, so I did a little too much there. That's all right, it's around the corner. So we can see now, we have some brick, just like that. Now, if you feel like it's too much, too bright, too just overwhelming, just wipe it down a little bit, and you're okay. So what I'll do now is I'm going to go ahead and continue filling in the mortar. And then here we go again with the red. So now you can see where we have our reds, where we have our gray in the mortar. Now that we're done with the red, I'm going to go ahead and clean off this brush. I'm not going to use this little gray brush anymore. Now, I'm not putting anything in the cracks through where the stones are because I'm going to be using gray on those anyhow, but on top of that, I want it more to look like it's like an earth or a clay that was used to hold those together. So I'm going to go ahead and get those going. And again, you don't want a super wet, damp brush. You want it kind of dry a little bit, so it's more of a dry brush on there. You do want some of the wood color to show through still, similar to this. And what's really cool is the fact that what's really cool is the fact that the oil base that's on here, if it happens to be a little bit damp still, it's not a problem because your paint's not sticking to it perfectly, and it does give it more of a more natural look to it that I like. If you don't want to see that, if you don't want to see that non-stick kind of a thing, wait until your stuff is completely dry. Wait until that Danish oil is all the way dry, which is probably a good 24 hours or so. I did not wait that long. It was only about an hour since we last were here, and I said, let this thing dry, and then we'll go from there. So there's where I stand right now with this, with the gray on it. But the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of black to that gray, because I want to get kind of a shadowed look to it. But I don't want it too dark. I don't want to go too much. So then down on the bases of these, down below, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit, just a little bit of a darker gray down at the bottom. Not super noticeable, but it is different than what is currently on there. And it's enough that should make those pop a little more. So now we have that. Next, what I want to do is clean off this brush. Boy, did I put way too much red down. Okay, so now I'm going to take just a little bit of black, and we're going to go in. I need to get, again, dry, because I don't want it totally filled in. And we're going to go ahead and do the hinges on here. I am going to just leave the doorknob as it stands. I'm going to let a little bit of that, where I've dinged it up some, I'm going to let that come through. Now, door hinges are done. Now, what do we want to do about the window? That's always the tough call. Windows are very difficult. They're not easy to make them look like they are windows. I'm going to try something here. I've done them before. I just don't remember exactly how I've done it. So we're gonna do this together. I'll see if I can make this work. I'm gonna take a pretty fine-tipped brush. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just put like a drop of white in here in each one of the panels. There's 4 quadrants in here, and I'm getting it everywhere, of course, because I'm on camera. First one looks good. The other 3 are just crap. So I'm going to try to wipe the sides off a little bit, this middle bar off a little bit. Okay, so now that I've done that, I am going to put just a little touch of gray. Grateful Dead reference. Just to give those windows a little bit of depth. That's awfully bright white, very bright white. Not real happy with it, but I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. I want that to dry before I try to go back in there and do something else with it. I do think what I'd like to do though is I'm gonna go ahead and take some black and get that cross piece. Once this white dries, I'm going to try something, maybe to add a little bit more, maybe a darker gray in there to tone it down, or maybe even a touch of blue in there to make it look more like sky. Excuse me. Okay, so there's that. You know what? While it's wet, let's dab some black in it. This may just tone us down to where we like. It's awfully wet paint in there. I think we have it just a little bit better on that window. You can see. But let's let it dry, see what happens on that. Here we go. Pretty much finished. Once this window dries, it's still kind of sopping wet inside of there. A lot of that white paint really was super wet. I had too much water on the brush when I did it. But so there we go. There's the finished piece with its coloring on it. Pretty cool, pretty finished. That kind of ends this video. I do want to thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next, if you want to see something next. Otherwise, I'll pick something on my own and you'll just have to watch that. So thank you again. Thank you so very much for sticking along with me this far, and we'll see what our next project will be here shortly. Have a great day.